my secret. Just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Hey T-Pals, Joe here. I just wanted to make a correction from an episode we did a few weeks ago about the census. So contrary to what was discussed in the episode, there is no long or short form in the census. The census will only have 9 questions. So the discussion when we talked about long and short forms, that won't be in the 2020 census. That actually refers to the American Community Survey. And not the 2020 census. So additionally, the census will not ask for income. So again, we apologize for the oversight, and we thank those who contacted us telling us that we were wrong. But whatever happens, just make sure that you fill out the census form. It's important to our communities. It's important to our lives here. So with that, I hope you enjoy this next episode.
You know, when I was a kid growing up, we had this nasty carpet, and I totally wish we had hardwood floors.
What kind of carpet was it?
It was just gross 80s
Nasty,
carpet.
did you not hear?
It's nasty. It was brown. It looked
brown.
ugly. It's dusty now. It's gross. I
Was
hate
it shag or was it like
No,
thick?
it's just crappy 80s carpet that was thick at one point,
And it's
now
still there.
threadbare because my parents have never removed it. And I kind of wish they had hardwood floors. Kind of like you, Joe. This is nice hardwood floors, isn't it?
It's not the best hardwood floor. It's actually Pergo, so it's kind of like plastic laminate that looks like hardwood floors.
Could have fooled me.
But this house used to have an apple green shag carpet.
Whoa.
Wow. Back in the 70s, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine it. It looks good, though.
Yeah.
Hardwood floor is probably better.
Yeah.
It seems cleaner, and then you can just Swiffer it, and then you less dust, less allergens in the house.
The only thing is when you do have hardwood floors, there are no plastic floor runners.
True. So you don't have the fun experience of skinning yourself.
But yeah, if I had to make a choice, I would get hardwood floors. But is there a place I could get hardwood floors?
Is there, Ryan?
I think so. If you're looking for hardwood floor repairs, resanding, design, and installation, JJI Urbano Hardwood Floors is the company for you.
JJI?
Wow. Yeah, they've been serving LA and Ventura County for over 15 years, and they pride themselves in giving quality service to everyone, especially the Filipino American community.
Wow, the Filipino American community.
That's us.
That's us.
Us!
They're actually family owned and operated with roots in Quezon City, Philippines, branching out to fellow kababayans in Southern California.
Oh my gosh.
Oh
Who
my
can we call?
gosh. Who can we call? I think we can call Michael Urbano at 805-512-2377.
805.
Yes, 805-512-2377 for a free estimate. All the work is going to be insured, licensed, and bonded.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but like...
Oh, there's bondage. There's bondage there.
Hey, as long as it's licensed, insured, and there's
bondage.
Again, that's Mike Urbano at 805-512-2377. Mike, are you related to him?
Like, is this his first name?
Oh,
Is it the 805?
It's Mike.
Solidarity for all Mikes.
But yeah, if you're looking for good hardware installation,
hardwood
repairs,
floors.
resanding, etc., call Mike Urbano. 805-512-2377.
Welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States at Iba Pa. I am your host, Elaine Delalis, with my fellow co-hosts,
Ryan Carpio.
Joe Bernardo.
and
Mike.
producer Mike.
Clink, 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 clink.
Clink, 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 clink. And we have a special guest with us, and his name is Greg Narvas.
Right. Hey, how are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Welcome to the
Greg.
show.
Good to be here.
and we are all sauced up because, well, I am.
Really?
You guys.
Already?
Nice.
I don't drink anymore.
Half of San Miguel.
I know.
And it's a saintly one.
Whatever. Because we are going to
holy
play
water.
a fun drinking game called FLAM.
Flam.
Da-da.
Let the boys be boys.
FLAM. Da-da-da. Da-da-da.
Let the boys be noise.
You want to do our pal of the episode?
Oh,
first?
yeah. I should do the pal of the episode. The
Our T-pal of the
T-pal of the
episode.
episode. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Is Leanna Anselmo.
Leanna.
Leanna.
Right? That's what I said.
I know.
Just now.
Leanna. Yes.
Thanks, Leanna,
Thank
for all
you.
your support.
Thank you.
You were
thank you.
awesome. We couldn't have done the podcast without you.
Great.
Yeah.
And all of our T-pals.
That's right. Hey, so if you guys remember, there was one episode where we actually drank.
Wait,
Do you guys
really?
remember that?
No.
When?
Maybe it was just me. There was one episode. It was really early on. Where we're like, man, maybe we should drink to just like loosen
Calm
up a
our
little
nerves.
bit. And it
So we
was-
don't get nervous?
That's for you.
All right.
But I think maybe I don't. Maybe
That
it
was just you, dude.
Maybe it was just me.
No, but I remember we had Vanessa Vela Lovelace.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
She
I
took a
think-
shot before.
That's
I
right.
think that's when we
Before
drank.
the-
yeah. Because she was
An
nervous.
episode.
I think, so.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, just so you know, people who can't see us right now, we do have drinks in our hand. The four boys are drinking whiskey.
And Elaine is drinking beer.
Yes.
we don't always do this. I'm just saying, but it's nice to do this.
Yeah.
We're ending our day by drinking San Miguel's. I am. And y'all are drinking bourbon whiskeys.
Oh.
Yes.
And we plan on playing this drinking game created by Greg Narvas
Oh, my
called
gosh.
FLAM.
Wait, we were gonna do a drinking game. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's why we're drinking. I'm really just drinking, just regular.
Greg,
Okay.
can you tell us about yourself and like where'd you grow up and why'd you make this game? And thank you for coming here.
Well, to give a little background history, I'm what you call Amboy. American born
Amboy.
Filipino. Was born and raised in L.A. I grew up in Westchester, which is just north of LAX.
Near
and now
LMU.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now I live in Culver City. And to tell you the truth, I was inspired by this game, which just showed up in my Instagram feed. I guess that shows that the algorithms work because it's just random. Out of nowhere, it's like Asian Flush. I don't know if you guys have heard of that
Yes.
game.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so it just
no, it's a
popped
game.
up.
I've never heard
it's
of the
it's
game.
a
Oh.
card game. It's a drinking game.
Oh.
Same, yeah. And it popped up in my Instagram feed, and I was like, "What's this?" And I looked it up, and sure enough, it's a card based on Asian American experiences, and it's a drinking game. So it's basically if you relate, then you take sips. And after they do have an account, I can't remember what it is, but anyway, they show some of the cards, and I was laughing because a lot of it is pretty true from what I recall. And then while I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? There should be like a Filipino one because there's so many things that I experienced growing up here in LA that it's like shows the balance of like retaining Filipino culture while also trying to assimilate to American culture and all that entails, you know? And so I was like, oh man, like if I just wrote down everything that I experienced and made it a game, like it would just be nothing. So I literally just sat down and just started writing out all this stuff. And before you know it, I had like this whole deck of cards.
How many cards are in there?
Right now I think it's 72.
Whoa.
wow.
Wow.
So like, I think it's good to go right now. I was thinking of doing like expansion packs in the future.
Yeah.
Like,
Are
first,
you going to sell it?
oh yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
hoping to like probably.
I was like,
No, we're just gonna
we're
drink.
just doing this for fun?
He's going to give it away.
It's just for you guys.
I was like, what's happening?
No, what I'm hoping to do is maybe do a Kickstarter or something. If I want to go into like a large scale production of some sort, then yeah, I'm gonna need some funds because
Totally.
Yeah.
it is gonna cost a bit. But in the meantime, I could probably do some homemade packs and
Yeah.
like whatever, and give out some promos and this and that.
When this becomes the amazing popular game that every Filipino American family will play at Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Easter or whatever
Yep.
thing, can we be a tag on the box?
Of course.
That's
Oh my
like,
of course.
I also want to create some cards.
oh, yeah, could we create
T-Fal
TFAL
expansion pack.
TFAL expansion pack? Okay, because I want to be like, get drunk the happy way. This Filipino American life. I don't know. I don't.
No.
Or what is it? Monai bread is about vaginas.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Whoa, where'd that come from?
Where'd that come from?
That is from the conversation prior to the recording of the
Prior to recording.
episode, where we learned that the bread, Monai bread, is based on an Ilonggo term. Hey, Mike, you want to fill in the gaps here?
Nope.
Come
She
on.
said fill in the gaps.
Come on, Elaine.
Look it up, Urban Dictionary.
Okay.
Well, before we get into that, though, you want to talk more about you and what do
Yeah.
you do and kind of,
Well, as a career, I just do art and I do graphic design and stuff. And I'm also in the band. I've been in the band for 30 years or more now. And
What's
I don't
the
know.
band?
Well, the band is Hepcat. Where we play ska, rocksteady reggae.
Ooh, ska.
Yeah.
Is it like a putri ska?
I've heard from those guys.
No, it's actually a band name.
That is a band name. We're from the
Putriska.
Philippines.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing a
Yeah,
dad joke.
Take a drink. Take a drink.
Ah, there you go. The game starts. But yeah, and aside from that, I don't know. I just gotta take a moment though to thank you guys for giving a voice to Filipino Americans.
Aw.
We were just having a conversation beforehand about how I discovered this podcast, and it just like I usually listen to podcasts because of my commute. Like I commute from the west side to the valley every day,
Whoa.
so you're looking at a
That's-
good
That's me, but
you know,
opposite.
45 minutes,
Yeah.
to an hour. So I'm like, well, I might as well make use of my time while I'm on the road. And, I listen to This American Life a lot and a lot of other things. But then somehow like TFAL showed up in my feed. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, I can't believe it. This Filipino American Life. And so like, I was so stoked to know that, you guys had put together an effort to cover that. And truthfully, it's things like this that inspire me to do things like this FLAM drinking game, because it's important to give a voice to us and to, there's a lot of Filipino Americans out there that, a lot of us struggle with like identity crisis and stuff, and like, I just want to let them know they're not alone. And it's like kind of cool that we go through all these too, because like we create our own community, And so like, yeah, I just wanted to give you guys props.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
We'll pay you after.
Man, I'm gonna drink to that. I'm gonna drink to that.
Drink to that.
Cheers.
Cheers. We should clank
Make sure
on
you
the
hear
thing.
like on the mics. Yeah.
This is literally like,
Oh my goodness.
No, but really, thanks for having me. I don't know what else to say about myself, unless you guys have like specific.
wait, so you've been in the
questions or
ska band
whatever.
since, what, the 80s then?
We started in late '89. Like we got
so like
together.
right at the beginning of like the third wave.
we
ska.
got together
Mike.
in
Third
late
wave.
'89,
Mike's
and then we
nerd.
started playing in 1990. Yeah,
So
it's been that long.
I've actually heard about Greg a long time ago from friend of the show, Irene Soriano, poet.
Yeah,
do
I
you
know who she
Irene?
is.
So she knows that I'm like a zine nerd and whatnot, and so she's like, you have to check out this guy. He writes this zine called "I Was a Filipino Teenage Skinhead."
Yeah, Teenage Filipino Skinhead. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And so I remember I like Googled it and I like deep dive and just was like, oh my God, this guy's so cool. And I like followed it. And
Wait,
still
what?
follow it. Yeah. And then I was like, well, one day when we can, we're going to have him on TFAL. And today is the day.
Nice.
Yep, it's finally.
Wait, so how are you a skinhead?
Okay, so
I'm stuck
that's
on that.
Let
I'm
us
stuck
do
on
this
that.
explanation.
Man, that's
Yes.
gonna be. This episode's gonna be long.
Hey, Mike,
Okay,
be
so,
your music nerd.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was just a term you applied to like a certain subset of like, reggae, ska like fans. And they would shave their heads as like opposed to like,
The
so when like
racists?
ska was like really big in the 70s,
Yes.
there was still a lot of like the long haired kind of like hippie folks. But to rebel against that, people started like cutting their hair and shaving their
Got
heads
it.
because they're like, we're not that, and
Got
so
it.
they were called skinheads, not as the same as like the
As
white
Nazi
supremacist
skinheads,
skinheads.
Or me
Totally
and Joe,
different thing.
Yeah.
who have no choice in the matter.
You're just a natural.
Natural skin.
So I'm actually glad. I'm really glad that you were able to come up with that like simple and concise explanation, because part of the reason why I created that zine is because I would get that question all the time. Like, how could you be a skinhead? You're not white, and you're like the friendliest person around.
But you have a swastika tattoo.
Oh yeah, that too. But I
That's
erased
a lie.
Oh, that's a lie. He's lying. Drink, Joe.
No, but what I forgot your name.
Mike.
Okay. What Mike is saying is true. The time frame is a little bit earlier, like it's probably about 68, 69. But anyway, the skinheads, yes, were that. It was just a subculture in England. I'm not going to go too deep into the history or whatever, but it was basically that. They were against the whole like long hair and hippie thing, so they wanted to have a really neat, clean appearance. So they would shave their heads. They would wear the boots, like, because a lot of them came from like the lower class, like blue collar backgrounds and stuff, and a lot of them would work on industrial like dock work and stuff like that. And it gets complicated, but basically, yeah, the whole like white supremacist thing is something that happened later, and it was like a political movement that just happened to, they needed people to support them, so they looked to these youth that were already like, part of the teen angst and rebelling and stuff, and they're like, oh, these people will support us if we just tell them like, hey, why you're going through all these problems, right? It's because of the immigrants, it's because of this and that. And it just goes on from there. So that whole political thing is something that was just like misappropriated, and unfortunately it became like a defining term for the word skinhead. And so hence that's why I would get this all the time when I would tell people like, oh yeah, I was a skinhead in the 80s. It was like always a jaw dropper. Like, you? Like, what?
Yeah, I remember like our really good friend in college, Gary, who like, he was in a band in like the 90s. Yeah. Well, just his friends, like Christian ska skinhead band. And he played trombone, and like when he said skinhead, I was just like, wait, what? How does that work? Yeah. And so that's how I kind of got more acclimated to kind of like the concept of that, like the history of that and lineage.
Yes.
And we could get into like mods and rockers and all sorts of stuff.
Yes, exactly. And that's what skinheads actually stemmed from, was like the mod scene. Mm-hmm. And so like mods, like in the mid to late 60s in England, they went like two directions afterwards. Some of them went towards the artsy side and like the more hippie-ish side, while the other ones, they coined a phrase called hard mods, and they were the ones that were like more aggressive and more, rebellious, and those were the ones that became skinheads and stuff.
So was there a Filipino skinhead community?
Oh yeah, there was.
Really?
Yeah, some of my friends were Filipino. I mean, like in our scene in SoCal and LA, there was like skinheads of all different races and ethnicities and everything. Mm-hmm. And so we were the ones like representing that aspect, while there were Nazis as well, and white power neo-Nazi skinheads as well, and we'd always get into these clashes because both of us were trying to say like, what this is what being a skinhead is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And they would say like, oh no, skinhead's about this and this. God. And it's really complicated. I mean,
were you rebelling against kind of the mainstream Filipino American kind of scene?
I started out as a mod, and like, and this was.
Can you describe what a mod is? Because I feel like Joe and Ryan don't understand.
Mod is
it's a TV show starring B. Arthur in the 70s.
How can I even describe that? A mod is like it comes from the term modernist, and to put it loosely, like it's basically the kids in England, like maybe in the mid '60s, they started dressing like really nice and would wear like really nice suits and have their hair like short and neat, and they would ride Vespas and stuff, and they listened to a lot of American R&B and soul, and you like wear like
the mod uniform is like a Fred Perry polo shirt or Ben Sherman or Penguin,
and then some nice tapered slacks.
Yeah,
and like
so that's the 60s, right?
It's a very 60s,
a very 60s look.
And when Mike and I were in college in Irvine, there was a crew of mod kids,
and all of them from like the South Bay,
and they were all
of LA.
from Long Beach, which is why like I know Mike and I know like,
and they're Filipino.
They weren't. No, they
well,
weren't.
There were some Filipinos.
There were some,
Yes,
but like it was a mix. Like the folks we know in Irvine, they were like white and Latino.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And some Filipinos.
But it encompasses everybody here in LA. So that's how I started, and then it's a long story, but basically like I got kind of tired of that scene because it was just too. It was a little too narcissistic and like prissy for me. Like after a while, and then at the same time I was listening to a lot of ska and reggae, which was like what the original like skinheads in England were listening to, And I latched onto that as soon as I discovered that was like a genre, and I was like, whoa, these guys, like, they dress nice and their music is awesome, and I'd like to emulate that, so like that's what I got into. And there was a couple of my friends and I got into it at the same time. And it was basically like I just wanted to find something different. I was tired of being like everyone else. Westchester is like practically an all-white neighborhood, so like it's you had a lot of surfers and then like some stoners and thrashers and everything, and new wavers and stuff. But like I was tired of just following a trend, so I wanted to like just think out of the box and join like something that was like a subculture that was like underground.
Who are your favorite ska bands?
Oh, by far the Scatolites is number one. Ooh. But there's like tons and tons. I mean, it's Toots and the Maytals. There's the Ethiopians, the Gay Lads, the Tenors.
What all the two-tone stuff?
I don't even know. Two-tone, definitely my number one would be Selector, and then the Specials, Madness, of course, all the classics, all the flagships.
Selector was on tour like this past year, right?
Yeah, they're still playing.
Yeah.
Are you guys enjoying your first date?
Yeah, we're bonding here.
Man. I'm watching like Joe and Ryan have no idea what Mike and Greg are talking about.
You know what we're talking about too,
I know what they're talking about, but it's fun watching you two try and break this down. And I'm gonna drink.
Could I have some of your beer?
Yeah.
But no, I think this is like, I mean, like, I think when we were in college and we started getting more exposed, I got more exposed because I'm from Ventura County. And so, I mean, there was like mostly like hardcore punk kids and like hip hop kids. And then I came to Orange County and was like started more about ska. And it was around the time kind of post like, well, when the third wave of ska was like really peaking, right? But a lot of people were like either mod kids or like ska kids.
True.
And it was just kind of like fascinating because it was like, well, when I started learning more about it, I was like, well, but you're not white.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of like brown kids, a lot of like, so
it's
a lot of it from the South Bay of LA.
Yes,
so.
It's a really complicated thing because especially when Hepcat started in 90, we were facing what you call the third wave, and a lot of the third wave bands were bands that had taken from the two-tone era and kind of added their own blend of like, punk and whatever. And
like
basically
No
like
Doubt
faster
and
stuff, yes.
Oh, No Doubt.
And in the meantime, Hepcat was trying to bring back
That's the one thing you know.
Yeah. In the meantime, Hepcat was trying to bring back the old 60s sound, So here we are, this total mellow group, and like all like low key and like slow paced and stuff. While we're playing with bands that are like super high energy and just like, like really punkish,
like Operation IV or something,
or something like that. Like Operation. No, it'd be like more like Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake and like some other bands.
It's totally Elaine's wheelhouse, by the way.
I want to contribute. I want to contribute. What's Madness?
Oh man,
it's a bad example, but the song. Remember the song Our House?
Yeah,
Our House is what put them on the map. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they are like. They have ska like roots for sure.
Okay.
But Madness is kind of their own entity. They didn't really like pigeonhole themselves into any specific genre, although they were part of the two-tone ska label, but
just wondering.
But
man, we could totally go down this rabbit hole.
It feels like
it's
you
a rabbit hole.
It
for
feels
sure.
like you are. So like Ryan, Joe, the reason why I'm like nerding out right hardcore, like Mike knows this, but like in college I had a pair of skanking pants.
Oh my god,
nice.
You too? No,
you don't even know what those are.
No idea.
If you look up skanking pants, it's like I had the red plaid kind that were tapered, and I had
like low top docks.
I had low top Payless docks because I couldn't afford real ones.
When was this?
I was broke. It was like my freshman year of college, and I wore.
There's a photo that I know I have of you in those pants.
Because I wore them all the time.
Oh my god!
And I would wear bowling shirts, like that '90s bowling shirts.
Did you have a chain?
Yeah.
I didn't have a chain, but I
had
wore
a chain wallet.
And I used to wear Chuck Taylors to no end. My fingernails were always painted black. I wore rubber bracelets. You saw me in all my glory when I did
totally
all this.
I'm like, oh, that's
And I wore those skanking pants.
And that was Scotland.
To the point where like I had holes in the thighs, and I was not gonna let them go. I stapled them.
Nice.
I wore the shit out of those pants, and I remember I threw them away, thinking like these are rags now. I can't do this anymore.
I'm proud of you more than you ever know for stapling those pants. That's amazing.
So I was like, I'm not letting this go. Staple, staple, staple.
Never gonna let you go.
I'm gonna hold you in my arms forever.
Okay,
Drink,
we're totally sauced.
drink.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love it.
We're never going to do the drinking
We're
game.
going to do the game.
Okay, should we do the game?
Let us do the game.
Yeah.
Greg, thank you so much. We may have to
No,
have you on
thank you.
again.
Yes.
No,
just
for
go with
sure.
the whole-
for
And
sure.
to have like a
There's-
nerdy conversation where Mike can take the lead and you all can have the conversation and we'll watch.
there's so many things
You
we
look
can
into
talk
your
about.
each other's eyes.
Yes.
We'll document
No,
the
I-
date together.
Wait, I do have to. I'm looking at the FLAM cards.
Yes.
Yes.
I wanted to comment how I love the color and the font. So because they thought it was because it's supposedly Laker colors. It's not.
No.
What did I say, Lakers?
I know. I just like
Elaine
the
said.
yellow.
It looks like spam.
It does.
Looks like the brand spam.
So it got me
Spam.
all hungry.
Spam like the
That's-
song from Save Ferris, which was kind of.
Oh my god.
Sorry.
They're
Sorry.
like they had this blank expression.
I
It's
know,
like, oh,
you did
what
not understand
spam
what I
that?
said.
Okay.
The
Sorry, St. Pharisees play our
They
school
hate
all the time.
the
So
meat.
I know my target audience, so
Right
Well,
on.
so was
Yeah.
No Doubt part of Death Row or Bad Boy?
Oh my god.
Death Row.
Oh, okay. Of course. West Coast.
Oh,
West Coast.
West Coast.
yeah.
West Coast.
All right.
You know that
So-
No Doubt technically has Filipino roots
Really?
because
Because-
Gwen Stefani used to date somebody who was in UCI Kababayan.
Oh my God, that's
not really Filipino roots.
I just wanted to put it out there.
That's
That's Orange County roots.
that
if
should
Just
anything.
wanted to put it out
that's
there.
through dating.
That should be a card.
That should be a card.
Yes.
In
That
terms
could
of
be-
like people
that's-
trying to reach out to make something Filipino when it's really not.
That should be a TFAL
That should be a
card.
TFAL card. No, not TFAL. Should be just a regular card.
Gwen Stefani dated a Cabo member.
Yeah, that's what I'll make it a
no,
TFAL card.
The TFAL, the drinking card should be drink when a Filipino tries to make a Filipino reference out of something
That is
that's
not Filipino.
Filipino.
Okay, I got to drink then because I just did
Okay,
that.
there you go.
Did you know that Keanu Reeves is Filipino?
Oh, God.
so many.
You know Barack Obama's Filipino?
He's from Hawaii. I mean, yeah.
There's a lot of those.
All right.
All right,
So let's play this game. How do we play?
All right.
Well, you basically just draw a card, and then if you were late, then you take a sip. That's
Oh my
pretty much the rules.
gosh.
Except-
That's it?
just for this pack, I guess. Later on, like maybe we'll have like multiple choice or like kind of some kind of Jeopardy thing, But for now, it's just if-then statements,
All right. Cool. Let's
Yeah,
do
why
it.
don't we have Elaine start
I'm
and
gonna
just
start.
draw a card from the top or
gonna
wherever
draw
you
a
want
card
to
from the top.
and read it out.
Read it. You have to read it to the mic.
If you call yourself Catholic because you were
shit.
baptized in a Catholic church,
Oh,
but
shit.
otherwise have almost nothing to do with the religion, take 4 sips. Oy, 4 sips.
You can
Salud.
drink beer.
4 sips.
Went to
4
church
sips.
today.
I go to church again.
Yeah. I used to teach confirmation, so sip for me.
Wow.
All right.
Number 4, I'm drinking Suntory whiskey right now.
How are we going to get home?
You can sleep over. It's okay.
All right.
All right.
so
Those are the old cards.
these are the done
Okay.
cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ryan,
I take from the
you
middle.
take from the
All right.
middle.
If you ever had an older relative, tito, tita, lolo, lola, tell you, "Oh, you are big now," when you see them at a family party, God damn it! Take 3 sips.
Okay, I'm taking 3.
Yeah, these are pretty punitive, like sips.
I know. 3.
Well, there's more. If you ever had them tell you that you're fat or skinny, take 4 skips.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
More drink, please.
If you don't notice, we're all taking sips.
Oh my god.
Ryan, do you need me to get you a beer?
It's very on the nose.
yeah. No, this is good.
All right. If your parents always insisted that generic brand foods were just as good as the more expensive premium brands, take 4 sips.
I have to take 4 sips.
So,
No.
all right. I gotta say something.
I'm in the clear
so
on this one.
far, how many people have been drinking sips?
Me.
Me.
Me, up until now.
On this.
Also-
We're a name brand family, so
Wow, snob.
The thing is, like it wasn't really a convincing thing. It was more of like they were trying to pass it off and go, "Hey, you want some spam?" And then my dad's opening up the luncheon meat can, and I'm like, "Hold on, dude, that is not spam."
No.
Hey, Ryan,
Our
drink your 4
family
sips.
our family's classy. We like presidential select.
Excuse me, my family really enjoys Hydrox.
oh my god. I was gonna say I would be the one getting mad if my parents got Hydrox instead of Oreos. Because
By the way, fun fact:
that's
Hydrox came before the Oreo.
Yeah,
Yes.
they did.
I know
They
Hydrox
did.
is
They
the
did.
original.
Yeah,
but,
they're the original.
Oh,
but I still
wow.
like
Yes.
Oreos better. Okay. All right, I'm pulling
Mike
a
took
card.
from the middle. He's taking from the middle.
Yeah, I'm gonna regret
What is
this.
it?
Right.
Don't-
Get it, Mike. Get it.
If you're just as comfortable eating with your bare hands as you are with utensils, take 5 sips.
I'm not taking any.
All right.
I'm finally not
Comfortable?
taking-
Wow.
Comfortable?
I
Comfortable.
gotta
Yeah.
think about this.
I am uncomfortable
I can't
with
do
what.
it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take
Just Joe and Ryan.
I'm gonna take 2.5 because sometimes I do.
I'm drinking.
I use like
that.
20 napkins when I eat at McDonald's.
That's true.
This is true. Mike eats trees.
There's
If I could eat with my hands all the time, I would.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you?
It's easy. Well, no, soups are hard.
No, you just bring the bowl up
Wait,
to your face.
did you follow the rule already about which hand you used to do that
You
and
have
like
to
that
do your
thumb
right.
thing and all this other stuff? Because I remember when we went to like our first like what do you call it?
Kamayan.
Kamayan thing, and then there was instructions. It's like, oh, I thought you just like scoop it up with your hands, like
No.
No.
you're scooping up sand or something.
You sort of have to like
Bags of sand.
Yeah, you have to
spot, like
bags of sand.
pound it or pack it,
Yeah.
and then the thumb is used to like shovel it inside
Or
your
push it into.
your
Yes.
mouth.
I mean, I've told this story.
It's very
Like
sexual.
we had this Lola baby. Gross,
Mike is on his first date.
right? He's trying to impress Greg. I had this Lola babysitter who would yell at us if we tried to eat with our hands because she was like, "Y'all, you guys are in America. You have to eat proper. Eat with a fork and spoon." And she would not know how to use a fork and spoon, so she would eat with her hands. But us children were like,
I see.
We're in
Like,
America.
you got fork and spoon. You better use it.
Yeah, and so we would, but I would just look at her like, but it looks so much easier the way. But I don't like it.
There's a Filipino guy. I said this to Joe like on YouTube that does mukbang, but he's in Sweden,
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
and he eats with his hands. Oh my god! If you want, he like puts like a snowball like amount of rice in his hand,
Wow.
and like shoves it in his mouth, and he goes.
Wait,
It is awesome.
is he at like 10 million pounds? Like
No, he's not.
That, no,
No, but he cooks like Filipino food, and he's in Sweden, and he would. Is it Sweden or Switzerland? One of those.
A place that.
She's in two different countries.
Are you, how much have you drank?
Northern Europe.
Yes,
Northern Europe.
and like he just makes food, and he eats, and
I don't think it's Switzerland though.
Yeah,
But
I think
anyways,
it's Sweden.
He's comfortable.
Anyway,
Let us drink.
okay,
Okay,
your
it's
turn.
my
Let us-
turn. So at the top here, you have 3 check boxes.
Oh,
One
no.
says Asian, the other one says Pacific Islander, and the other one says other. So the question is, if you've ever struggled between the 3 options above because Filipino wasn't on the form, take 3 sips.
Oh man, I've struggled.
Uh,
I do have to say, I've there was a time where I would have checked Pacific Islander.
really? I've done it
Really?
once, and then afterwards it's like, no, but we're in Asia, right?
So here's the thing.
Yeah.
I've struggled as well, so I took sips. So here's the thing, like that's a really controversial thing when it comes to Pacific Islander. A lot of like I've come across Filipinos that would say like, oh, well, if I don't see Filipino, I put Pacific Islander because that's what we are. However, if I was in the company of like Samoans or Hawaiians or
pissed
anything,
off.
they
Yeah.
get pissed.
Because
Like
we're
they
not.
take it really personally. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you are not Pacific Islander,
Yes.
dude. You're not checking that box.
I agree with
So-
I agree with those people.
Yeah.
I agree with Booyah Tribe. Yes.
Say Booyah Tribe.
So that there goes the problem with like not having Filipino in the box, right? Like,
Yes.
because you have to kind of while you're filling the application, all of a sudden scramble in your brain about how to identify yourself,
Yes.
and be like, wait, there's a Pacific Islander choice. That's probably me, because right. So that's the whole problem with the whole thing. So I'm glad that's part of your
Or you should listen to our episode with Anthony Ocampo.
Yes.
And
Okay.
he kind of explains the different
Filipino Americans and Pan Ethnic Identity.
Yeah,
That's
he
the one.
explains.
Episode 25.
Latinos of Asia?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Latinos of Asia, yes.
He explains the whole kind of not misnomer, but like the
How it's all
politics
just-
behind
yeah.
Politics,
it.
yeah.
And how it's very just. I can't think anymore.
You mean after you've had
After
8
you-
sips?
After you finish 3 fingers of whiskey.
The struggle is real.
Also, full disclosure, there's a bag of chicharron here on the table
Yes.
That we're going
you
to
get a little bit of ASMR.
I'm like
eat that.
upset because the card I pulled has a lot of words and I already finished one beer and I need to finish this reading this. So I'm going to attempt to read this now. If you've ever seen another Filipino in public and they gave you that knowing glance, accompanied with the repeated raising of the eyebrows and an upward nod, take 3 sips.
Yes.
God damn it.
All right, do it. And then there's a follow-up of,
So I can't.
because you don't do the nod?
No, because a lot of Filipinos don't think I'm Filipino.
There you go.
Really?
Yes.
Yes, that happens to my dad. No one thinks he's Filipino.
Really?
They all think he's this big Mexican guy.
Because
Because of his long hair and he has a bigote.
Oh. It's not because of how it says his name.
It's
Because
Dodge.
he's Dodge? No. No.
This is Dodge.
This is Dodge. No. Okay, the following is if the same Filipino started speaking Tagalog to you and you had to tell them you didn't speak it, take 5 sips. So I need to take 8 sips of beer.
So that's what I do is I usually start speaking Tagalog and then they recognize that I'm Filipino.
Wow.
Reverse.
Yeah.
Do they think you're Chinese?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you know if you have Chinese
Really?
blood in your family?
I can't trace it just because I can only trace back to my great grandparents or great great grandparents, but they're not Chinese, so I'm sure there is. So we'll see.
Oh,
I want to do
giggling.
genealogy.
Ryan's giggling.
Take 2 sips for each relative you have that has a name that repeats itself, such as Jun Jun, Kel Kel, Roy Roy, or Leng Leng.
My mom is
Thanks a lot, Bong Bong.
my mom is Tita Ging Ging.
There you go. Sip.
Joe, it's good thing that we're at your house.
Yan Yan.
That's me.
That's
I
Yan
know,
Yan.
that's Ryan.
Nice.
All right.
Mon Mon.
All right.
It's my brother Raymond.
All right. If you can hardly speak a word of Tagalog or any Filipino dialect, but can totally understand what your parents or relatives are saying when they speak it, take 3 sips.
Jesus.
All right, drink up, everybody.
Everybody.
Drink up, everybody.
I mean, I understand a little Alongo, I
I'm
guess,
good,
but
though.
okay.
It's so funny. Like this is really like to get drunk.
This is a dangerous game.
It is.
I mean, do you have stuff that like nobody has, or is this all real common ones?
You know what? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because basically this card deck is 100% me. So it's everything that I've gone through. So it's
Oh,
kind
man.
of an indicator to see how many other Filipino
Time to
Americans out
outsource.
there
Oh.
So then you should
have like parallel lives, because I've met a few in my life that have had parallel lives. So I'm like, well, if these 3 or 4 people that I've met go through the same thing that I do, are there any others out there, or is it just an
You know what you
exception?
should do then?
I don't know.
You should put some ska ones. So then, like, people will skip.
Some other people won't know.
Yeah.
I was
Basically, stay sober. But
Who did Gwen Stefani date?
so like
If you know who Gwen Stefani dated,
the funny thing is, I posted some of these cards up on Instagram, and you guys saw them.
Yeah.
But one of these guys that I know, I actually haven't met him yet, but he's been to a couple of our shows. He made a remark that made me laugh, because he's like, you know what, this card game should just be called like, oh, come over to my house and let's get wasted. Because like it was just 100%, like every single card,
Right,
like
right.
Oh my god.
there should be one like that's like super like
Obscure.
or like if you've ever had to put oranges in your garage, or if you had a basement growing up.
That one's for Eugene
see?
Cordero.
Eugene Cordero.
For all the Midwestern Filipinos.
Yeah.
Who have
Yeah,
basements.
see, like
That one.
that would be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's a
right.
good one.
Who's
Okay.
next?
If your parents eat comfortably with one foot up on the chair and an elbow resting on their knee, take 3 sips. If you eat this way, take 4 sips.
Okay, I'm gonna take 4 sips because I do
Nice.
I'm
not
taking 4
drinking
sips.
that. My
any
parents
of
do
this.
not do that.
My parents don't do that,
My
and I don't
grandparents
do
do it.
that.
My grandparents did. Or my Lola.
No. Yay! Finally, one I don't have
My
to
dad
drink.
did that all the time.
Oh man.
Mike, do you need a beer? Okay.
I mean, I don't mean to say this on the podcast, but you know how much I drink these days?
Oh my god.
Nice.
What a lush.
Wow! Wow! Wow!
Edit.
Wow. Work's getting to you that much, huh?
No. I'll cut that out. Or not. I'm just like taking sips in between the sips.
That's why he enjoys this game.
Hey, whiskey.
All right, here's mine. Okay, this is a good one, which I'm sure probably a lot of people relate to. If your parents say "huh" instead of "what," take 4 sips.
Oh man.
Huh?
My mom actively does that every time.
I'm drunk.
Oh, nice.
Can I have some chicharron, please? Oh man. All right, Elaine.
All right. Oh, why do I keep getting ones with lots of words?
That reminds me, you know that song, ay nako, what's that song?
Ay, nako.
No, no.
Putang. Sorry, Tita.
That's a song.
It's a
It's a real
freestyle
song.
song.
It's a
It came out
freestyle
around
song.
yeah.
You've lost. It's
this
gone.
is Lucchini. This is it.
Oh, by Camp Low.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wait, what?
This song. I'll play it.
Why
Yeah, it
are
was like
we-
in the late 90s, right?
What? This game reminds you of this song?
No, because you were saying, huh? So me and my
Oh,
friends.
wait.
This is it, huh? This is it, huh? Me and my friends used to say it all the time. Instead of what? What? Huh? Huh?
Oh man.
Anyways,
Oh.
I hope you heard that. I don't know.
I'm crying.
People can hear that.
That's hilarious.
This is it, huh?
I'm never gonna hear that song the same way ever
Me
again.
either. Okay.
Man.
I'm attempt to read all these words.
Okay.
Okay.
If you ever brought a non-Filipino boyfriend or girlfriend to a family function, take 3 sips. If any of your relatives remarked, "Oh, you will have beautiful children," take 5 sips.
Oh,
First one I'm not gonna drink.
I know.
Wow.
Doesn't it depend on the race, though?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's not get into that in this
Yeah.
episode.
But colorism for sure.
There's another card somewhere in there that deals with that as well.
Ooh.
So
Oh wait, are we going through the entire deck?
No.
think we can.
I feel like we should do like 1 or 2 more rounds before we like.
Because
get
I'm
totally
scared,
blasted.
guys.
I have to try it.
You're already feeling good, huh?
All right. If you constantly heard the word TNT in your family's conversation and had no idea what they were talking about, take 4 sips.
I
knew that.
You did know? Even
I didn't know until college.
I didn't.
Oh, I
I
knew
didn't
that.
know until
you know
way
what?
later.
I knew that like when I first heard it.
Me too.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they would
They would
say
explain.
the word.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They
Oh
would-
yeah. They would
They
say
would
tago
say
na tago.
tago ng tago.
So I would say
Oh,
like
see, my-
overstayers or something like that. They,
Yeah.
they overstayed.
So maybe I'll just drink 2 sips.
I just know him as
because-
Uncle George. Sorry, Uncle George. May he rest in peace.
Uncle Walang green card.
What's his name? Si Toots?
No, that's different. Uncle
Oh.
George was like, dude, we used to live in like a 2-bedroom duplex. There was 8 of us when we first came to the country. And then like a few months later, my dad goes, "Oh, Uncle George goes sleep on the couch." I'm like, "Who's that?" He's,
Uncle
tago na
George.
tago.
Uncle George.
Like he's just gonna stay here for a while. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we just knew he was hiding from something. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I first heard about it like when they said TNT. I was like, "What's TNT?" And they told me. So
You're like TNT knows drama.
Yeah.
no, it was before cable. Before we had cable.
He's like, it's that thing
Oh,
that Wile E.
man.
Coyote keeps blowing up, trying to blow up the Roadrunner with.
No, I would hear that word constantly in the conversation my parents would have when my relatives would come over for parties. And I was like, what's TNT? So I finally asked my mom like way later. And she's like, oh, tago ng tago.
Yeah.
And she's
Yeah.
like, that means that you're hiding because you do not have a green card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Like, oh, okay. I'm like, well, and then like, yeah, my the wheels would be turning in my head. Like, okay, why wouldn't you not have a green card? It
yeah.
just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to hear TNT like all the time, like at our family, parties and
Yeah.
gatherings.
All right. Take 2 sips for each time someone thought you were 1. Chinese, 2. Vietnamese, 3. Mexican or other Latino, 4. Thai, 5. Hawaiian. Take 3 sips if another Filipino didn't recognize you as being Filipino.
Okay, I need more drinks.
Yes.
3 sips.
I would add.
I would take 5 sips.
I would add. Take 3 sips if you pretended to be Hawaiian.
Yes.
And then get out of here.
Yes, shots fired.
Shots fired. Get out of here.
One of the cards should be like, take 3 steps if you
Stips.
take 3 sips if you wore a kukui necklace all the time because you thought you were a Pacific Islander.
And you did the
And you
shaka.
did the shaka.
The shaka sign.
That's so many people.
I did it when I was in Hawaii.
Ryan.
When in Rome.
All right.
What's a kukui necklace?
It's those
The-
like
The puka shells?
not the
Not the
puka
puka
shell,
shells.
The big one.
the round one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
big round beads.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wait, you guys didn't do this in pictures? Like Shako and...
No.
I
No.
did.
Hawaii?
Not in Hawaii. I don't know.
Really?
But
Did you do the
I'm from the
shaka?
valley, not Long Beach.
it's true.
Okay.
So funny.
If your tablecloth or table has telltale toyo soy sauce circles on it, take 3 sips. If you've ever found dried rice grains on your shirt, take 4 sips.
Dude, I have some right now.
Okay, and then
I am
Mike,
taking 4 sips.
Mike would add take 5 sips if you found dried rice in your hair.
What?
Because that has happened to me.
Oh my
Elaine has
gosh.
food in her hair all the
and
time.
Mike is like, how did that happen?
don't know how
And
it
I have
happens.
no idea.
I want to add a card because this might be a little bit nuanced. If your mom ever told you when you were in elementary school to just use rice instead of glue,
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh man.
Yes.
you should add that.
Yes, you should.
Yes.
See, okay. That's the things that oh man.
Yeah,
you
Sci-
totally
science
blew my
fair
mind
board.
right now.
You know those 3-fold board things? I mounted things with rice because of that. It's like it was late at night. Michael's was already closed. My mom was like, "Just use rice." I was like, "What are you talking about?" And I did it. It's like, oh my god, it works. It totally worked.
But it dries out in the morning and then it falls off.
No,
It
not
works.
mine.
If you do it right.
If you do it right,
Oh, apparently I did it wrong.
sticks like, oh man.
It sticks like really. It's like when you
Yes.
try to get rice off a pan like
All right,
later.
yes.
It's
Okay.
stuck forever.
Let's be
you know?
fair. It's steamed rice.
Yes.
If you just fry the rice or you get Mexican rice, it's not the
No,
same.
it's not going to work. It has to be steamed
You
rice.
use pilaf. That's what you
yeah. Don't use
Don't use
Or if
pilaf.
you use Uncle Ben's,
Uncle
no,
Ben's.
it's
Wait,
not going to work.
but did you ever use it in your hair instead of gel?
Oh man.
No.
That-
Okay, wait. I did that because we didn't have gel.
You
So
have to
you
do
the,
that
the
right.
80s,
Wow.
the 80s hair?
To
You
get
got
the 80s wave because we didn't
Man.
have hair or I didn't have gel or I didn't have hairspray where mom refused to buy it. So I was like, oh, well, you can use rice. So like,
Really? That's a good one.
and it looked gross.
Yes,
Wow.
it would look gross.
And it was hella stiff because like you're trying to get that like big ass wave.
smell like dinner?
Are you sure it's not like cornstarch or something?
No, it was rice.
Not that would be any different.
because it was the 90s and I had to have like a big wave and then I had to have crunchy bang wave like over
Yes.
here.
That's
and then
90s?
feather thing.
That's 80s.
Whatever, 80s, 90s. I know I did it. It was hard.
No, but see, like that whole thing about the rice instead of
Yeah.
glue, totally, man. When I was in 4th grade,
Yeah.
I used to do these things, assignments for the class called current events, where you had to take newspaper clippings and glue them to the paper,
Yeah.
and then write your own whatever
Exactly.
thing about it. And so my dad saw me doing that, and I was like asking him for glue, and he's like, "What glue? Just use rice." And I'm like, "What rice?" He goes, "Oh, like this." And then he like smeared the rice onto the paper, dude. And I thought it was crazy, but it stuck.
Yeah.
The
And
other
I'm
thing,
like, man.
the other thing I want someone to do is just get an old glue stick, just pack it, and go.
Oh, this glue smells good.
There's a little bit of egg in it. Oh my goodness.
Oh man,
Ryan, that's your
the
business. You're going to
best.
make glue sticks.
Oh my god.
Ah.
Okay, last round. Last
Last
round.
round?
round.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're starting it off.
Is it me?
It's right
Right.
there.
Oh, okay. All right. Just gonna pick a random card
This
here.
is, yeah, get drunk.
Oh, this is great. I'm so glad to be doing this with you guys.
I'm so glad to do this with you.
Okay. Okay. This one. If your parents constantly complain about your white friends for their American ways and lax attitude, take 4 sips. If they believed you would benefit if you hung out with Filipinos and or other Asians instead, take 6 sips.
I'm taking
This
4.
is an interesting one. I'm taking.
I had a lot of white friends because I grew up in Ventura County.
Okay.
I went to St. Genevieve. All my friends were Filipino or Latino.
And they would always be like,
I don't
man,
have to do
they're not
this."
taking off their shoes.
Yep.
They don't want to eat any of our food.
Yes.
You know,
I did not
they're
have
talking
this
back to
experience.
us.
I didn't have very many white friends.
Hmm.
Wait, your turn.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hala. Sorry.
So that's the difference. Like you'll see like things where like, for example, Mike and I, if we were raised in predominantly white neighborhoods,
Yeah.
you would come across that a lot, because our parents would be exposed to our friends coming over, or they'd see their behavior, and my parents are always comparing. They're like, oh, that's not, that's not good. It's because they're American.
Yeah.
That's whatever,
Mm.
and it would cause like a weird thing with me because I'm like, wait, I'm American too, I'm trying to be just like everybody else. So why are you complaining about their attitudes and stuff? And it would just be this weird.
My parents would always use like that as oh, he's like that because he's Americanized.
Yes.
He was raised here. So I get that, and I'm like, you
Yeah.
brought me here, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, don't be
You brought me here.
surprised.
Yeah.
All right. This
Elaine.
is one. if your dad, Lolo, or any of your titos scratch the back of their heads when they're frustrated.
That's my dad.
Dang it, we're all
Everybody's
drinking.
sipping right now.
And he does it in like in a
the
fun
back,
way.
yeah,
He goes
in the
like
back
this.
of the head.
Like he has like a little.
Oh, my dad
cadence
does like
to
a
it.
squint. Like he's like, you know.
My dad does that.
They can't see that.
It's like my dad scrunches his shoulders up and then he like goes to the back of the head and scratch.
Going back to the whole parent thing, do you think Filipino parents talk to each other? I'm sure they do, but like about
Yes. I'm just kidding.
like how to raise their Filipino American
Oh,
children.
I wonder.
I don't think they did when we were growing up, but I think there might be a trend of parents now.
Yes.
Now, yes, I think
Yeah.
the conversation happens. But my parents, whenever I talk to them about that, and I ask them like, oh, what happened when you guys came here and like, what was your decisions? They consciously made a decision. For one, they didn't want to move to a Filipino neighborhood, although they had been invited to move into one when they came here. And they're like, well, we want to be in America, so we want to be in an American neighborhood. We don't want to be amongst other Filipinos, because then what's the point? If you want to assimilate into American culture. So they made it a point to find a neighborhood that was like non-Filipino. And then at the same time, they made a conscious decision also to raise my brothers and I as Americans. So they didn't speak Tagalog to us, although they spoke it to each other. Mm-hmm. So us hearing that every day, we learned to interpret it, but they never taught us to speak. So it put us in this weird thing where it's like, it's like you're supposed to understand it, but then at the same time, you don't speak it, but they didn't want us to speak it because they wanted us to be English-speaking Americans.
Yeah. Well, obviously that comes with American colonialism and all that history. But I understand that. But what I'm saying is, do you think...
Maybe they...
I don't know if there's like a book out there or something like that. But I'm just saying, like, I'm sure they talk to each other about how they raise their children in this American environment.
Like when we were there, like at family parties or whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean,
But it's
my
more about
titos were talking.
comparing than anything else.
Than getting advice.
Yeah, it's more like my kid's going to this school, my kid's going to that school, right? And then you kind of like,
oh, that kid is pregnant.
or that kid's pregnant. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that anymore?
Dude, no, that would be like a disciplinary thing where they said, "Oh, don't go out because you're gonna end up like so and so who got pregnant when they were like
I got
18."
a lot of that.
Yeah.
And they would like always. And what I realized too, and it was weirder to me when I was in high school, is like they do talk to each other about each other's kids, and so it'd be like, "Oh, I heard about blah blah blah's daughter is like dating blah blah blah." I was like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Like I know that, but how do you know that? And so
Yeah.
I don't know if they've talked about like the Filipino culture like interlaying with that, but like
It's not advice.
I don't think they had the capacity to know like we're gonna talk like that way. And you've said something that was interesting. Like they were invited to move to a Filipino neighborhood and they didn't want to because we're coming to America.
Yes.
I once asked my parents because they had the option to move to Hawaii, and I said, "How come we didn't move to Hawaii?" Because I was like all excited. Like I would have grown up there with a bunch of like brown people and be happy.
Yes.
And my parents were like, "We're trying to move to America. Why would we go to another island?"
Uh-huh.
My parents, they didn't want to live among other Filipinos because they were like, oh, because then there's going to be like their neighbor, they're going to look at your car, and they're going to say,
exactly what my parents
you
said.
don't have a Mercedes.
Yeah.
There's always kind of like comparison.
Yes.
And I guess they feel like they have some kind of anonymity here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like in a non-Filipino neighborhood.
That's
or
funny.
mixed neighborhood.
Yeah.
That's funny that you say that because that's exactly what my parents say when I ask my mom, like, why didn't we move to a Filipino neighborhood? And they're like, oh no, because it's like keeping up
With
with the
the
Joneses.
Joneses,
You know,
yeah.
like if they see your car and they're like, oh, you only have this and this. I have like a better car than you, and it's always just one upping each other like all the time. And they just wanted to stay away from that.
I mean, that's the hard part with like comparing. You're always comparing to people who are like you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And not
Right.
people who
Yes,
actually like
exactly.
around like
Yeah.
other people like
Yeah.
who you may not have a lot of contact with.
One like really quick thing too. In my family parties, it was already understood that all the grown-ups would speak in Tagalog, and they already accepted the fact that all of us kids just didn't speak it. So they just like would ignore us. They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll have our own conversations here, but you guys go and play and do whatever you want. Like you don't have to understand what we're saying, or you don't have to, this is our
interesting.
conversations. Like we don't expect you to understand anything."
or it's almost like on purpose, right? Because they were like,
Yes.
the kids are here, so we're gonna speak in Tagalog. And, like,
exactly.
I was never taught either, so like I didn't know. And also, my parents were from Iloilo, and so they would have to speak Tagalog to their friends because
Yeah,
there were
it's
no other
the
logos.
universal language.
And so, like, I definitely didn't understand because I understand my parents, but I didn't understand everybody else because none of them spoke Ilongo or whatever.
Yes.
So.
That's super interesting.
All right, Ryan.
Next.
All right. If you had or have a barrel man in your house, take 3 sips.
So I didn't have one growing up.
I didn't either.
My dad currently has one.
man.
Oh.
On
I
top of
have
his
one.
television.
I mean, I only saw it like later on. in
Wait,
life.
I didn't have one in my house, but my Tita Mike had one.
I mean, you grew up
So
in
I
that
grew
house.
up in
So-
that house. How many sips?
3.
That's just 3.
There's more into
There's
that.
more.
But I wanted to ask you guys, like if there's listeners out there that don't know who the barrel man is. So what happens when it's a wooden figurine of a man and
In a barrel.
in a barrel,
And he's smiling.
and he's smiling, and there's more.
Oh.
So if you lifted the barrel on your own, take 4 sips. And if your dad, Tito, or Lolo encouraged you to lift the barrel when you were a kid, take 5 sips.
I have to take 5 more.
I gotta take 5.
All right. That's the other thing too, because like to leave off where he was talking about the barrel man. So basically, it's a barrel with a guy, and I don't know if there's a message saying not to lift it or something.
I don't think there's a
is.
message.
So,
But anyway,
The barrel moves up
Yeah,
and
the
down.
joke is if when you lift the barrel, like he has like a big old, like.
a dick
Patotoy.
pops
and it's
out.
like that pops out. It's on a spring, and that's the whole joke. Like, haha,
Yeah.
it's like he has a big old dong, And so, like, when I was growing up, my uncles had that. Like, basically all my relatives had that in their house. It's a total Filipino staple. And it was the same thing. It's like you're looking at it curious, like, what is this? Because it's like a guy with a barrel.
I wonder
and
what
then
the
my
origins of
my
So-
tito would
so
come along and he would be like, "Oh, you know what that is?" And I'm like, "No." He goes, "Go, lift the barrel, lift the barrel, you'll see." And I'm like, "Oh, what?" And then of course I lifted, and sure enough, this big old thing
I feel like it's a
springs
tourist
in my
thing.
face.
Yeah, do you know the origin story, Joe? I feel like you know.
I mean, this is just
Hearsay.
half-ass internet research, but suppose I heard or read that it was a way for like people in Baguio to kind of like fuck with or fool around with Americans and try to come up with some kind of souvenir
To sell?
to sell,
Ah.
and then they just kind of came up with that. Supposedly, I don't know how true that is.
No, it makes sense because it looks like one of those touristy
It
like
is.
things that you would buy.
That would
You
be
know,
so cool, though.
Like in Mexico, you buy like a
Yes.
giant hat or something.
Right,
You know
and
what I
inside is a penis.
I mean, literally.
You lift the hat.
You lift the hat and bang.
Well, I mean, I always felt like I saw the barrel man, but I also saw like
There's the barrel woman.
there's like
right?
knives of the Philippines.
Yes.
It's like all the different knives.
Yeah,
of different
Weapons of Motoland.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a card, by the way.
But
Now I'm gonna think if I
Not to
lift the
just
biggest
spoil it.
Mexican hat.
but when it be, I mean, I love the. I mean, if it is a half-assed research, but I love the idea of like going, oh shit, let's just fuck around with tourists.
Yeah.
And like they're gonna come up with this like wooden carved figurine from the Philippines.
Yes.
Of a dude in a barrel
Yes.
because Filipinos are hanging out in barrels, and then they take it home and they be like, "Fuck you."
Yes. It's like the giant. It's like the giant pencil that you get at Six Flags,
Right.
Or
Except it's a different kind of
it's
pencil.
a different type of pencil.
Oh man.
All right.
All right, Joe.
Oh, what's this doing?
This one. If you or your parents have a rosary hanging from your car's rear view mirror, take 4
cars.
sips.
I do not
I
have
do not.
I do.
not.
You do, Mike?
Or do your parents have
Oh,
like the thing where it's
The
like
Saint Christopher.
No, if you as your parents.
No, you don't.
No, my parents don't.
my parents totally do, but they have it over.
It
so
obstructs the view.
whenever I've moved into a new place, they've hung a rosary in front of the front door. Like that's what we have one
Yeah.
at our place, right? From college to like now, like they give me a rosary to put over the door, and then they would also put one over all the doors in like their house, and they would do the thing with the coins in the corner also, and some other things like
The
that.
coins in the corner is supposed to be for wealth, and you're supposed to put it in the foundation of the house, but people just put it in the corners.
yeah.
Wow.
My mom's like super religious. She's like, that's not what the rosary is for. It's not for decoration. You cannot wear it.
Yeah, you're supposed to put a Saint
my-
Christopher in your car because Saint Christopher is the saint of travels.
Yeah, I've never even
Safe
heard of that.
travels. So I grew up with Saint Christopher in my car.
I grew up with San Miguel.
In the car.
In the car.
Wow, right?
Joke only. Joke only. Not
Dude, again, you have to listen to an old episode, but someone out there should make the Santo Nino air freshener.
Oh yes, that's right. We did that in We did that in the
One of those episodes.
No, it's the the
Hilaupa
episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Mike.
The last
The
one.
last one, make it good.
I don't think anyone's going to do this, but we'll see. If you've ever looked in the mirror and wished that your nose wasn't so flat and or wide, take 3 sips.
I'm going to take 3.
Elaine.
All right. I've never looked in the mirror to say this, but I gotta tell you guys that when I was younger, my grandma would before I went to sleep would get her hand
Pinch
and
your nose.
pinch my nose,
Yes.
and goes para matangos.
Yep.
Right? Para matangos.
Yep.
Tangos ang ilong.
Tangos ang ilong.
Yeah.
I was like, really? That
Yep.
works? And she would do that every night before I went to sleep when I was a kid.
Yes.
My
Yeah.
mom would tell me to do it, and then she would say to push it up because then it would also create the point. And then my dad said, "Stop fucking doing that because your tito did that, and now he has a piggy nose." so
Man, Filipinos have all sorts of madness.
I was
Dude.
just like, "Wait, so do I do this or not?" And then I just
You
stopped.
should, because then it's easier to get the kulangot.
Oh man.
Oh my god!
How does that Florante song go? Wag kang mahiya kung ang ilong mo ay pango. No?
I guess that's how it goes.
Wait, go-
Wow.
Are we at the part of the party where we're singing Haranas?
No,
Is this what-
we are buzzed though.
I feel like there should be a whole episode, or we can talk about now, like Filipino party like essentials, because the ones I would
Obviously,
go to,
FLAM is now a Filipino party.
Flam should be
essential.
essential,
Yes.
but it would be at this point in which like all the titos would pull out their guitars and start singing like Eagles songs or something.
Okay, I don't have titos that play guitar. I mean,
All right.
No.
So I think we should give some ideas of what other cards
New
could
ones.
be.
Yes, yes,
New
yes,
ones.
yes, yes. Okay,
well, I said the Gwen Stefani one.
Like,
I have one.
Okay.
okay.
If you ever had a tita cut in front of you in the line, take a sip.
What? Oh, like a not
of
like
you?
not your tita, but like a tita.
A tita.
Random Filipino tita be like,
Joe is looking at me
Cut in
because this
front-
has happened to me at Hope You Like It, and I almost murdered her.
Hope you like it.
and this
So
there's real place in
Taking a
Southern California.
sip.
So
A tita we were all waiting for Hopia, and she was just like, "Oh, I have to get back to work." And I was like, "Hey, lady, we all have to go somewhere. We're waiting." And then she cut, and she was just like, "I'm busy. I have to go to work." And I was just,
Did you
like,
let her?
I didn't let her. She just went, and I just looked at her, and I wanted to cut a bitch. And Mike was there and was like, "Please don't cause a scene." And I paid right after her, even though she was supposed to be behind me. And I just was like, "Thanks a lot, lady."
Oh.
And then I just like walked off, and I was yelling in the phone to my dad. I was like, "This fucking tita like cut me off. I can't believe her." I was so mad, and my
So-
dad was like, "That's what you get. Why were you there?" And I
So
was
Elaine's gonna take a sip.
like, I already took
there
one.
you go.
I'll take
But
another.
yeah, titas are just notorious for cutting in line.
Wow, I've never.
Yeah.
Never seen.
Maybe
that.
because they expect you to like respect your elders and not like say anything to them.
Nah, I didn't say. I threw mad dice at her.
Oh my god.
If my mom had been in line, she would have yelled at her.
Oh yeah, my mom would have like started a fight.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's a good one. What's another one, Ryan?
Oh, I mean, well, look, come back to me because I'm buzzed. That's why I'm getting ideas from you guys.
Take 2 sips if a tita has forced you to sing karaoke to impress her
Oh,
friends.
that's a good one.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Nice.
That's
too bad I finished my drink already.
Yeah.
Take 4 sips if they make you sing New York, New York.
Or my way.
There's a card. There's a card in here already about that.
Yeah.
I forgot how it goes exactly, but basically, if you have a tito, lolo, or your dad insist on singing Frank Sinatra songs at your karaoke parties, and take whatever sips. And if they insist on singing My Way or New York, New York, then take 5 sips. So that seems to be like the all-time.
Yeah, I was
favorite.
forced to sing
So-
New York, New York for the titas. So
I got one,
Okay.
and it's controversial.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
controversial.
Oh. Hala.
I say take 5 sips if you are at a place where, or hold on, I should word this.
Yeah.
Take 5 sips if you are on Filipino Twitter and people try to outwoke each other.
Oh, man.
I'm not gonna drink at this because I don't try to outwoke no one.
Oh.
But that's a good one.
That's everybody.
Not me, but if you read something that people try to outwoke.
Yes,
each other. Yeah.
yes. Oh, well then I
Joe,
would.
that's controversial.
So
I'm sorry.
Controversial.
It's controversial, but it's very fucking annoying.
No, I know. I got you.
So that's a thing right now? I'm not on Twitter, so I wouldn't even.
It's just
There's like a Filipino Twitter, and everyone tries to be like really woke.
it's like the woke Olympics.
Yeah.
People try to get the
Wow.
gold medal for being woke.
But you know, if you're gonna be awake, just be kind. I'm at the point where I'm drunk and happy.
or like talk to somebody directly. It doesn't have to be public.
You don't need to subtweet anybody in your
Yeah.
comments. Subtweeting is when you like talk about someone and then you don't tag them or you don't direct the
Right.
actual conversation.
It's like passive aggressive.
Passive
tweeting.
Very
aggressive
passive
tweeting.
aggressive.
It's like just
There's
get
a
off of your
part in it,
soapbox. If you really want to make a world a better place, contact people directly and be nice to them, and
Yes.
maybe just say this is why the kind of shit that you're talking about might be offensive or something.
Yes.
All right.
Anyways,
I have one.
And scene. Go ahead.
I have one.
I don't really have any outside the rice thing.
Take 4 sips if you. Oh no, it's gone. Oh, it's gone. It was gonna be like wrestling related. Like take 4 sips if you.
don't like wrestling.
Don't know.
Just kidding.
Or like I don't know. Mike, help me. I don't
Take
know.
2 sips if someone gave you soup and didn't tell you what it was, and it ended up being dinuguan or papaitan.
Oh my god, that's awful.
Take 2 sips if you have a sore throat and your parents told you to just gargle with salt water. And then take 2 more sips if you have a canker sore and your parents tell you to just gargle with salt water.
Take 2 sips if your mom says don't do something because it's dangerous.
That's every day.
Take 3 sips if you have a cold and you put Vicks Vapor Rub on your chest. Take 4 sips if you put it on your back as well.
Yes.
Take 5 sips if you put it on your feet and inside your nostrils.
Take 10 sips if you put it in a boiling pot, and put a towel over your head. And get the fumes, the Vicks vapor into your lungs faster. Man, I think our parents were like the original vapors.
Oh my god. They don't know it yet.
I know.
The Vicks Vapor Rub is the #1 cure for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
basically.
Take 3 sips if you grew up wearing Marlboro red jackets and a tire that your tito got for free for turning
That's
in
just you, Elaine.
Cigarette points.
cigarette points.
Take 3 sips if your tito wears a camera vest to parties.
Oh my god.
Oh, man. Dude.
Okay, I got a very.
Just described my dad.
I got one.
There's a lot of uncles.
Like
so.
the vest with all the pockets.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's almost like a
camera
barangay
vest.
vest.
That's my
Without the like logo.
Wow.
I got one super nuanced one
Yeah.
for Filipinos out there.
What?
Take 20 sips.
Oh god.
Oh,
If you are a
jeez.
barong with no undershirt. you know who you are. You know who you are.
Or a barong with a sando underneath.
No, that's supposed to
That's
be.
the way that's supposed to be, though.
Wear like a short sleeve shirt.
No,
Oh, it has to be a
I'm sorry,
t-shirt,
that
right?
came later, dude.
Really?
No.
Yeah, you can wear a sando.
Looks weird.
It looks weird, but it's not like
Weird.
it wasn't weird before. Now that they come
Yeah.
out with those
With
barong
the barong
shirts,
shirt, but you used to be able. Yes.
yeah, just not
I'm
no
with Ryan on
undershirt.
this.
Thank you, Elaine.
No shirt is like a dude trying to show off.
Okay.
No, not even this guy. Yeah, like nipple hair coming out. I'm like, dude, what the hell's coming out of your shirt?
All right, this podcast is just
Sorry.
ending into.
You know what? This is
the
the problem with drinking shots.
How about wear or drink 5 sips if you have a dad who wears a golf shirt that has a Philippine flag on it, khakis, and New Balance sneakers.
How about the Philippine map?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the Philippine map.
Yeah, there you go.
Take
Oh,
take
man.
3 sips if you have a mama or a tita who has to have a name brand purse and a name brand. What else is there?
Louis Vuitton. LUIS.
and
Santi.
and a matching scarf and beanie and gloves.
Calvin Klein.
2 more shots if it's
Kevin
Michael
Klein.
Kors because
Plus
coach is
buns up
apparently
BBK.
passe.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, this is too much.
Kevin,
Ah.
Hugo Ross.
Yeah, it's all from Senti.
Santi. Oh,
Okay.
oh,
right.
man.
Mike, what are some of yours?
No.
This is scar related.
Okay, take 5. Take 5 sips if your cousin or older brother was in a gang.
Ah,
That's a good one.
See, that's a good one.
Joe got all serious.
Yeah.
Take
Ah, man.
take.
And take more sips if they had a pompadour.
Oh, no, I was gonna
man.
say take 8 sips if they got sent to the Philippines.
Oh my God. Yes.
All right, let's get really serious.
Okay, let's go. Where are we going?
Filipino and Filipino American is neither Filipino nor American. Discuss.
What the
What?
heck?
That's bad. How would we?
No sips.
No, that's complicated.
That's serious.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Yeah, we could go on forever
Yes.
Oh, you can.
on this.
I think we really should.
And I feel like we could craft our own expansion
yes,
pack.
we should
Oh,
do this.
I think we made an
pack.
expansion pack already.
this is
Just have to
awesome,
get to
by the
work.
way.
So how do you get a hold of this, Greg?
Yeah.
Well, for now, if you just follow me on my Instagram account at Lefty Limbo, I usually post updates.
Oh,
there.
you're a lefty.
Yes, that's me.
4 drinks later.
Drink if you don't know.
More
You
sips,
follow.
Joe.
I was like, who's this lefty limbo guy? Oh, okay.
And yeah,
Cool.
LEFTYLIMBO. That's me. And I'll post updates there when I get like a little round of them going, and I'll
This
probably
is
post
awesome.
them up on the shop or something.
So is the game going to be called Get Drink? Oh. Yeah, it should be called Get Drink. Flam, Get Drink.
Da-da-da.
Get. Oh, this is bad.
Tagay.
Oh.
Flam Tagay
But
edition.
it's going to be called Flam.
Yes.
Uh,
Flam. That's a play on words of Phil Am.
Right on.
Has words meaning Filipino American, like we all are.
Yes.
And yeah, coming soon to
internets?
near you. I suppose.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow Greg on Instagram. We will have Greg on again so we can have date number 2 for Mike and Greg.
It's more like you guys want to get drunk again.
Talk about that too. But
And
you guys can
then-
talk about music.
We talk about music. And then, do you have any dates for any shows if you folks want to check your band out?
The next date was actually a last-minute addition. We've been approached by Punk Rock Bowling in Las Vegas. We're going to be playing on Friday, May 22nd. That's Memorial Day weekend. We're actually playing with Bad Manners, which is a huge flagship of the two-tone era.
We can go to Vegas, Mike.
And that's going to be Friday night. It's at the Bunkhouse Saloon in downtown Las Vegas, where they usually hold this punk rock bowling thing. We've played this event a couple times before, but it's been a couple years, so this should be cool. So once again, folks, that's May 22nd at the Bunkhouse Saloon in Las Vegas. And we're playing with Bad Manners, The Insiders, the Capsules, and a couple other bands. So it's going to be a whole night of like ska and soul and punk and oi and all this good stuff. It's going to be a great time. It's always a great time playing at Punk Rock Bowling. So that's our next show.
Are you sure you don't want to go, Mike?
We'll think about it.
Okay, because it's also Double or Nothing from All Elite Wrestling on Saturday. So I would totally be okay with going to Vegas if I could also go to that wrestling show.
Cool.
Of course. This should be a whole episode in of itself.
Sure.
Elaine and wrestling.
I mean, that's why there's a podcast called Pencil Nut Geeks at PNG Podcast. Follow and listen to me rant about wrestling sometimes. Guys,
This
was
is
fun.
awesome. Yeah, thank you for
Thank you for doing
coming.
this.
Oh, no,
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
We're all listening.
Yeah, and I need to.
We need to take some
need to
coffee
take some
breaks.
water.
And water.
There are 2 or 3 more bags of chicho in the kitchen
But
that we should finish
yeah,
first. and
This
then-
was super fun. Thank you for.
Do
for
we
listening
end
to
it
us
on
too.
some karaoke because we're drunk? Or-
Oh, there you go.
No, Joe.
All right,
Come on.
What do you have?
One more
What-
night.
One more night.
By Phil Collins.
By Phil Collins? I mean, we totally could.
But you guys don't even know the words. You guys are like,
That makes the karaoke even better.
Can I plug this in?
yeah, sure.
This is awesome.
Well, just play it loud. Just play it loud. No. Just play it loud. Because it's like I forgot to turn off those lines.
Oh my gosh. What's this song?
What song is it? What song is it? I was gonna look up the lyrics.
Just lip sync it. Oh, I know this song. You guys know this one, right?
No, that's the words.
It'll come to us.
You'll know the chorus though.
I think it has to be that one more night.
Everybody.
To the fire, to the limit, to the wire.
Oh man.
To the fire, to the limit.
That's a good
Right. That
Thank
was amazing. Joe broke the microphone.
I broke the mic.
That's amazing.
He didn't even drop it. He didn't even drop the mic and he broke
He
it.
just broke the mic. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
No, thank you for having me.
Thank you for getting us drunk. And I hope everybody who's enjoyed this episode hits up Greg to get it.
Yeah.
If you
And even
haven't-
play along with us while
Yes.
you're listening.
Yes.
Please.
Please play along while you're listening.
Yeah.
And then
But
call.
not while driving.
But not while driving. And then call us at 805-394
TFAL.
TFAL.
Nice.
And
What was it, Mike?
805-394 TFAL.
Wow. Nice.
nice.
Not
And then
buzzed.
let us know how drunk you are after you have drank all the drinks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailot. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.